Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Wanda Teplitsky. I'm the president of Masorti Europe, and this is the first of two sessions on navigating social media in times of crisis that we are partnering with the European Council of Jewish Communities to develop this program. We all felt the need to discuss and learn more about that tricky place that is social media, especially since the events of October 7th. So together with ECJC Masorti Europe, wanted to offer the opportunity to members of Jewish communities in Europe to learn more about how we work. And we want to thank ADL for supporting us in this project. We were looking for the appropriate partner for this project, and ADL was exactly what we needed. So we approached them, and we are very thankful for them to agreeing to offer their knowledge and their experience in this area. Today we have Lara Felix. She's the Senior Director of Digital Engagement and Associate Director of European Affairs at ADL and the Anti-Defamation League. And she has an extensive experience in communication and marketing, and she will provide us with a very interesting session. So welcome, Lara. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, ADL and ECJC for working with us in this. So please, Lara, welcome.
Great, thank you so much. And hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet you, and it's such an honor to be here today. I am dialing in from New York, so just a little ways away. And I hope you find this presentation helpful. It's very informal. I'm going to walk through a bunch of tips for social media, but definitely we'll have time for questions at the end. But if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in. So let me share my screen and get this on here. All right, presentation mode. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. All right, so we're here today to talk about leveraging social media for community building, of course, in times of crisis that we're in right now, but also just in general. Social media is a great tool to help you really connect with your followers at your organizations. So a lot of us might be on social media on a personal level, and some may be on it for organizations or not. If you're not on social media as an organization yet, these are some reasons to take it into strong consideration. There are 4.95 billion global social media users currently. So it's really become a commonplace for people to get their information. People get their news, connect with other organizations, and so on, and really learn a lot from social media. So by being on social media, you can really meet people where they are already. It's a great tool for helping you to build community and connect with followers and other people who want to get to know your organization. It's a great way to increase your reach, and we'll talk about some strategies to really get the most out of social media in order to reach more and more people in your community. And then also, of course, fast communications. It's a lot faster to put out a quick Facebook post or Instagram post than it is to pull together an entire press release. So it's a really great avenue for being able to comment on things that are happening, especially in the moment that we're in now, and be able to reach your followers quickly. And that's also a great place to really activate your community network to help spread the word. So it's not only your organization putting in the legwork to get key messages out to supporters, but really you can leverage your supporters, your boards, your staff members, etc., to help amplify that reach. So if you're not on social media as an organization yet, it can be a little bit overwhelming to kind of figure out where to get started. There are a lot of social media channels. These are just some of the main ones. And I'm not going to go into all the details of them, but different channels focus on different areas. So for example, LinkedIn is more business focused. TikTok is more, fully video and tends to skew younger. So the first step is really trying to figure out what your goal is in order to best and most effectively reach the audiences that you're trying to reach. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to focus on Facebook and Instagram because those are really the two channels that are the most recommended and best for community building. I've circled here some of the key differences between the two channels. They're similar but different. The formats are slightly different. I would say Facebook skews more of a diverse age group. So the majority is kind of in this, 30 to 40 age group, but there are a lot of older people on there. You can kind of get a wider range of ages. It's also a great place for personal connections. So a lot of the community building on Facebook is through your friend network or personal connections. A lot of people use Facebook. You might yourselves, use it to keep up with high school friends or, old classmates, etc. So it's a way that you can kind of leverage those personal connections and kind of like help build through there. A key difference with Instagram is that, of course, it's more visual focused. So everything is videos, graphics, or photos. It definitely skews a little bit younger than Facebook, but not as young as TikTok would, for example. And another big thing about Instagram is that influencers are really big on there. So there's a lot of people, as we know, who kind of make their living out of creating social media presence and getting their voice out there. But doesn't necessarily have to be people making their living out of there. There's also just a lot of really passionate people who want their voice to be heard on these platforms. And those are really, really great people to identify and figure out a way to work with, which we will talk about later. So if you haven't created a social media profile for your organization yet, here are just some basics. And I apologize if this is a little bit too basic if you are already started with social media at your organization. But definitely when you're creating your profiles, you want to make sure that you're branding your page consistently with your organization. Make sure that you have a really clear logo as your profile picture. Create a compelling cover image that's branded and it looks nice, and make sure that there's consistency across the profiles. Instagram doesn't have cover photos, so that's why we don't have one there, but you can see the logos are the same. Create your bio to make sure people know the key mission of your organization. Make sure to include relevant links like your website. We also include our CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt's link on there because we want to bring a lot of visibility to his pages as well. So just think about other, places that you want your audiences to know about on your channels. And then a really great feature about Facebook and Instagram is because they're run by the same company, Meta. You're actually able to connect them. So this can allow you to cross-post with both channels. So you can actually, create, and I would recommend this more with Instagram than Facebook because of the format of the content that you can put on there. When you post something on Instagram, you can select to have it posted on Facebook as well. And it kind of takes some of that work away of having to go back and post in both places. So once you create your profile, and even before you create your profile, I would definitely encourage you to sit down and kind of think through a strategic content plan. So really think about what you're trying to accomplish through your channels. And know that the right type of content could help you achieve your goals, but you do have to be strategic about that. So it's not just about creating a page and putting things on there. Think about what type of audience you're trying to reach. Of course, every organization has, the things that they have to share, but what's relevant to share for those particular audiences? What do they want to hear about? It's not just about like pushing out information. It's also about kind of cultivating the type of content that would be interesting for your audiences. And a big thing to keep in mind just in general is what will stop the scroll. We're all used to being on our phones all the time. If you use social media for personal use, I'm sure you've spent those days kind of just scrolling through mindlessly on posts. And the goal is, to create that piece of content that stops that scroll. Like, oh, this was a really interesting statistic, or, something that really catches your eye right away and is that quick bit of information that makes you kind of like stop and think twice and hopefully like and share. So that's something just to keep in mind. And then also just make note of the different types of content that you can share on different channels. So Facebook is a little bit more, has more variety because you can share links such as press release links, news links, etc. But also photos, graphics, and video, versus Instagram is visual only with photos, graphics, and video. So as you're thinking through content plans, here are some ideas that you can use to get started. And these are all types of content that we put out at ADL, and a lot of organizations do as well. So, you can put things out like organization announcements or statements. And there's an example of this graphic from the hostages being released is an example of how we put out a statement on Instagram. You can put out news links, whether that's, news that your organization is mentioned in, or just, news that's relevant for your audience that you can write some sort of caption that makes sense for your organization. Event promotions, of course, a lot of organizations use social media to promote events. Photos from community events, that's a really great way for building community to, help people see themselves in the organization and kind of feel part of kind of a movement. Graphics of key statistics. This is something ADL does a lot of with, the research that we put out. An example is the 73% of Jewish students graphic here. That was part of a huge, really long study that, a researcher or someone who is more, wants to kind of consume all that information might read all of. But on social media, it's really about kind of like grabbing little bits of information. You can take video from media interviews. Video is big on social media, and it's hard sometimes resource-wise to have someone who knows how to edit, etc. But a really easy way to do it is to kind of grab video that's already been created, such as there's a clip, a screenshot of our CEO on a TV interview. So you can do things like that. Volunteer testimonials, you can ask, your board members, your volunteers, other supporters, what they're experiencing. Maybe you want to, share some firsthand experiences of people experiencing anti-Semitism or why they support your organization, etc. And of course, calls to action. I included one from a recent fundraising campaign, but calls to action can be, join us in, calling out for this government official to do this, or, encourage college campus presidents to denounce anti-Semitism, or however you want to mobilize your audiences. And I didn't include a lot of this in here, but of course, in the current moment with being in this crisis, of course, crisis response is a big part of it. So kind of like, and this is something ADL does a lot of, and you'll definitely see it if you follow us, especially on Twitter, kind of responding to incidents that are happening in the US and abroad, and so on. So if that's part of your strategy, those are the types of things you can put on here as well. I would just caution that because of algorithms, Facebook and Instagram aren't necessarily always the fastest to get messages out. So we can talk more about that. And if you have questions about it, I can definitely help answer them. But that's why we kind of tend to focus more on Twitter in those moments. We'll take the really, really big moments and we will put them on Facebook and Instagram, but it won't be every single time we're commenting on something. All right. Additional content tips. So you now have, thought through a bit of a content plan and have different ideas for content. These are some other tips to get the most out of your plan and kind of get the most eyes on your social media. So first and foremost, this is something that I always advise to people before they start a new channel, because I think it's really important to note that consistency is really key in social media. The social media platforms actually reward regular users. And what I mean by that is that the algorithms actually work in that more regular users kind of get a boost in visibility on the platforms. And I would say this is especially true for Facebook. So it's really important that you're kind of continuously posting once you start a channel. I would aim to post 3 to 4 times at minimum. This is why social media often becomes kind of like a full-time job for a lot of people, because it is a lot of maintenance over time. You don't have to post as much as an ADL does, but definitely making sure that you're not forgetting about your social channels and that it's kind of a regular part of your weekly communications plans. Like I mentioned earlier, definitely strive for easily digestible posts. Social media is all about stopping that scroll, quick information. You want to make sure that the information that you're putting out there is in simple terms. A lot of times we as professionals, we're very deep in our topics, we use acronyms and so on, and we kind of assume other people already know all of these things, but they don't. So it's really important to, and they might, but it's really important basically to make sure that kind of your average supporter will understand what you're putting out there. Avoid acronyms. If you have to have an acronym, make sure you spell it out instead of using just the acronym, etc. You can also use hashtags for visibility. And I would say this is more important on Instagram than Facebook. So you can, do hashtag anti-Semitism or, whatever other types of words that are relevant for the posts that you're putting up. And that helps to kind of increase the visibility on that platform. You can also, a good practice is definitely to tag partner organizations. So if you're, doing a co-announcement or you worked with another organization on a certain event, you can tag them and that allows them to see it and share it on their pages. Hopefully you're encouraging them to tag you as well. That way, when they post about things that are happening, their followers can then kind of easily find your page. Oh, you're working with this organization. Let me look at their page and start following you as well. Visuals are key. Definitely for Instagram, it's a requirement, but even for Facebook, we've seen content, when we have just a simple link that might not have a good meta image, won't do as well as one that we kind of take a step back and think through what the visual will be for that post, whether it's, just a photo or some sort of graphic that is created. Video is king on social media. Social media is definitely trending towards video. TikTok is the fastest growing channel right now, and that's all video. So more and more channels are kind of prioritizing, their algorithms are prioritizing video as well. So if you have the ability to post videos, I definitely encourage that. And posting natively is important too, rather than posting kind of links from YouTube. What's recommended is getting the actual video file and uploading that onto the pages. that actually performs much better than links of videos. And then also take advantage of the stories feature. So on Instagram, you have the ability to post on Instagram stories, which is what comes up kind of at the top of the profile. Those stay up for 24 hours. And we love them, especially on Instagram, because that's where you can put links. You can't put links on Instagram posts. So it's a really great place. Let's say you have an event you want to get registrations for the next day, put that up there with the registration link. You're trying to get, some sort of call, like a petition signed by like the next day, put that up there and kind of like gets in front of people in a quick way. And then if you have your accounts linked, stories will also automatically post to Facebook. Questions so far? All right, I will keep going. So community management is another part of social media. So social
Lara,
media is not, yes.
There was no question because we were muted, all of us.
Oh, my apologies.
This is why. So
okay, no worries.
So
I continue?
You can continue, and then we will open for questions.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So with community management, I would say it's really important to keep in mind that social media is not just about pushing out your message and, getting things out. It's really about also listening and building community. So really encourage you to take advantage of kind of like the social part of social media. So ways that you can do this are by paying attention to your comments and direct messages. So when you're putting up content, what are people actually saying in response? Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they confused? And so on. So start to get a sense of what they're saying and pay attention to those direct messages too, because oftentimes those are, some people who are really excited to get involved with you and might have questions and so on. So not only pay attention, but actually answer questions, whether it's posed publicly, and that's something that would be helpful for others to know, or if it's through a DM. Respond to comments too. Sometimes, someone might say, hey, we donated to you last week. That's a great opportunity to say thank you. Or someone might say, oh, I experienced this incident last week. What do I do? And you can respond, giving them directions, or maybe there's a resource that you can direct them towards that could help them in their situation. And I will say that the algorithm, again, does reward profiles that are more actively engaged in comments and direct messages. So that's another reason to kind of keep this up. In addition to building that kind of personalized relationship, is getting more eyes on your pages. Another easy way that you can kind of collaborate with your community is to share posts you're tagged in. And this is especially easy on Instagram stories. If you follow ADL on social media, we do this a lot on Instagram. People maybe they're attending an event and take a photo and, tag us, we'll, repost that or so on. And people really like to see those reposts too, so they get really excited. You can also proactively invite people to like your page. Sometimes there will, people, posts will show up in someone's profile. They might like it, but they might not follow your page already. So you can actually see that and take a, moment to look back and invite people to try to grow your followers that way. So it takes time, but kind of like keep it up and your loyal fan base will follow. What I would encourage is maybe, setting aside, let's say like an hour a week to start, just to make sure you're getting through all the messages. Ideally, it's more often, but depending on the level of activity that your pages get, I think a weekly check-in is okay. Now, I would be remiss to be talking about social media if I didn't talk about the hate on social media as well. And I know there's going to be another session in 2 weeks that focuses on fighting anti-Semitism on social media. So this is more focused specifically on any hate that you might see on your pages, or your supporters might experience as a result of advocating for your organization. So overall, the goal in terms of community building on your page is to create a safe space for your supporters, so they continue to engage. If so people are engaging who do support you, but then they get met with 10 people who are saying anti-Semitic things to them, they're going to be discouraged. And this is a space area where ADL is still working on this. We get so much of this, and we've been really working on mitigating our comments, but for us, it's kind of this kind of ongoing need to monitor and try to figure out how to bring this down and create that safe space for people. So one thing that you can definitely do on Facebook and Instagram, which I would recommend, is create a list of keywords to ban on your profiles. So you can actually create a list of swear words, anti-Semitic words, anything that could be hate. Think about like the alternates for those types of words. And you can put them in the system, and you can keep adding to it too. So, you have your initial list of words that you've thought through, but you see other ones coming through. And basically what the platforms do is they'll then automatically hide any posts, comments that include those words. So that's one way. Another thing I would do, let's say things do get through that list, I would definitely go ahead and just delete any blatant anti-Semitism and hate. There's definitely no place for that on our channels, and the people who are posting those types of things are basically up to no good. We're not going to win them over as a supporter. So it's best to just, delete that from your channel. Oftentimes you will also kind of see these gray area comments that aren't blatant hate, but, they're not also really productive to the conversation. It could be interpreted the wrong way. Those are the ones that I would encourage you to hide instead of delete. Because basically what happens then is the person who posted them won't see that they've been hidden. So it looks like they're still on the page. But oftentimes if you, let's say, delete something, people will get mad, and, they might start posting a lot more and kind of try to get back at the page for that. So that's why I think hiding those types of comments is the way to go. And for these types of users, if you start seeing them post like this a lot, you can also restrict them on the pages. And basically what that does is that automatically hides their comments. So it'll look like to them like they posted, but really the comment won't be live to your other users. And then you, as the manager of the page, can actually take a look at them. And if you see one that, maybe that wasn't bad, you can unhide it and let it show on your page. And then definitely if there's those repeat offenders who keep saying hateful things, or if you're getting bots just kind of posting random like links or whatever, you can go ahead and block those people to kind of clean up your page. Definitely managing content like this on your pages. Sometimes it's very easy. Obviously, that's hate. But sometimes, like I said, it's gray area. And I think a good thing to keep in mind is that you don't want to just be one-sided on your page. You don't want to discourage any types of conversation that don't necessarily go exactly along with what your organization believes. But as long as you want to kind of encourage kind of like civil discussion about things. So it's okay if someone disagrees, but if they're doing it in a respectful way is the goal. And then another thing you can do, especially if you're a new page, is restrict who's allowed to tag you. So if you don't have any restrictions on there, basically anyone can tag you. And what happens then is it shows up as part of your tagged posts on your profile. And so sometimes there's, bad actors who are trying to tag you and bad things. So we like prefer to restrict that. And we allow people who we follow to tag us, but you can also allow anyone to tag you, but then you get to approve what actually shows up on your page. And then the last thing is that we would definitely encourage you to protect the privacy of individuals, whether that is staff members, especially non-senior staff, volunteers, etc. You want to be really sensitive about posting personal information, first and last names, but not that you would post where someone lives, but you get the point. Identifiers that kind of give away a lot of information about that person. There's at ADL, we have to be really careful about that. So we're really careful about posting pictures of people's kids and so on, just to kind of add that level of security to our pages. All right, so now you have your pages set up, you have a content plan going, you are equipped to manage comments and kind of interact with your supporters. And now these are some tips to help to gain more visibility on your pages and really help amplify that reach on social media. So the first one is pretty basic, definitely, but it's worth reminding, definitely make sure that you're promoting your social media links on your communications. So put it in your email signature, put it in your email newsletter, put it in your print publications. If you have an event, get a little flyer or put it up on the screen in the PowerPoint, etc. So make sure that you're kind of constantly repeating your social media handles so more and more people continue to follow you. Also, a really, really good resource is your current community to help spread the word. So you don't have to do this alone, essentially. You can, encourage your supporters, your volunteers, your board, your staff to help spread the word. So you can, let's say you have a certain initiative that you're trying to spread awareness about. You can actually send an email to some of your key people or even wider network of supporters and give them a mini toolkit, just one graphic or one video with some copy that they can then post on their social media channels and encourage them to tag you as well, so that they're kind of helping to amplify that reach and hopefully bring people back to your page as well. I would definitely also encourage you to collaborate with partners to cross-post and tag your organization. I mentioned that earlier. Instagram actually has a really cool new feature for that where you can do a collaborative post. So ADL recently did this, I think last week with Halal International, for example. And so we cross-posted an announcement and it helped both of our channels because we were able to get in front of some of their more niche audience and they were able to get in front of some of our more broad audience. So that's definitely something to consider and work into your plan. Another thing that you can do is work with influencers to reach new audiences. This is an extremely effective way to get the word out about your pages and your organization. A lot of time people think of influencers, oh, it's a celebrity or someone who has, 500,000 followers. It doesn't have to be that way. An influencer can be someone who is really passionate about your topics, and they might have 5,000 followers, but they're 5,000 really loyal, dedicated followers who are very engaged with what they're saying. So it's not necessarily about finding the really expensive influencers or the biggest names, but who are those kind of niche individuals who can, stand behind your cause? Maybe they're really actively engaged volunteers who, love social media. They're already posting about you all the time. Who can you collaborate with to, think about, some content ideas and ways that they can help get your message out there. And then this could be a whole other presentation, but another thing that you can consider is just putting some budget behind your social media. So you can actually put, money behind promoting posts. One way to do it is just to have boosted posts. So if you post something organically, you can say like, let's put $100 or euros behind, making sure this reaches more people, and the platform will do that. You could also have targeted campaigns. So let's say you're really trying to activate supporters in a certain age group in a certain city. And this is a really important effort. So you can actually have a targeted campaign that reaches specifically those audiences. And that's nice too, because then you don't have to bombard the rest of your audience with that kind of really specific messaging, and you can really tailor that to who you're trying to reach. And platforms definitely also reward putting some paid behind them, as they're also trying to make money. So all right, so analyze and adjust. So metrics are a huge part of social media, and something that I really personally enjoy about it, because it's measurable. It's kind of, there's other forms of communications where, you're not quite sure like how people reacted to it, but here you have actual statistics. You can see how many people are following you, how many likes you get, how many shares you get, and you can break that down by individual posts. So if you're into metrics, this is definitely, something to kind of like dive into, to kind of be more strategic about your social media. So metrics are available directly on the platforms. And I would say the goal for your platform should be not only to grow in the number of followers, but grow in the number of engaged followers. Those are the people who are actively, liking, etc. on your posts. They're the ones who are more likely to take action if you do have something that you want your audiences to do. So something that you can do is just simply pay attention to the type of content that gets the most engagement, and try to create more of that type of content. So that's the listening part of social media, where you're kind of getting a sense of, oh, I see our audience, when we posted this personal story last week, that really did really well. They're really interested in that type of content. Let's create more of that. People want to follow pages that create content that they're interested in. So that's something to look out for. And then you can also pay attention to other types of patterns. Sometimes you might notice that posting on a particular day or a particular time of day might do better with your audience than other times. So it's just kind of like feeling it out. You might notice your engagement on Instagram increase when you're using the stories feature more. That's something we experienced at ADL. So you can adjust your content plans accordingly, and just continue experimenting, try different types of content, and pay attention to, how people are reacting, and see what sticks. And last but not least, don't be discouraged. I think a lot of times people, hear about the viral posts, or they see certain pages that automatically gain 10,000 followers. And that does happen, but it is definitely the exception. And overall, social media growth just takes time and effort. It's really just about continuing to be consistent, as I mentioned earlier. Keep posting, keep looking at, how posts are performing and optimizing your content. Keep working on making connections, keep commenting on what people are saying, keep answering their questions. Get creative with what you're posting out there. And if you keep on doing all those things, a loyal audience will await. So that's it. Thank you.
Wow. Lara, thank you. Thank you so much for this really interesting presentation. We are going to have a conversation now with the participants, but before that, I have a couple of questions to you, just that might help everyone to understand many of the things that you said. One is a very practical. I mean, I have two very practical questions. One is, I know that in Facebook, for example, you might have a group, a closed group, where people can join. And I know that for many organizations, Jewish organizations in Europe, this is the way they run, their Facebook page. Another way is to have a page, it's an open one. So my first question, I have two concrete. One is this one. What do you think about that?
Yes, that is a very good question. And it's something I didn't get into the presentation. But yes, there is the ability in Facebook to create Facebook groups. And the person who creates them can kind of manage who is able to be on there. So you can make it a public group or you can make it a private group. The advantage of Facebook groups is that you can really control who is in there. So you can kind of monitor and accept people to join the group or not. They can answer certain questions to be part of it. And then a nice thing about it too is that it allows people to kind of share with each other. So there is kind of more of that encouraged, not just the organization posting updates, but group members can also post their own updates on there as well. So I think groups are great for kind of those more niche community building and conversations. Let's say you have like a young supporters group or even like board members or so on who can kind of collaborate together on those Facebook groups. Versus a page, I guess, is more of a branded, organization branded experience. I would see an organization page as a more official way to, for example, share statements and press releases and kind of official organization things happening. And that is more public, anyone can follow, and you wouldn't necessarily need to monitor who is in there because it really is just your organization posting versus others also posting updates.
It's like more like a website that you publish. And the other question, very practical also, is there is a tendency in Jewish organization in Europe that they have one channel of communication and it's for everyone. And it's not the same for young people that for parents or for. So what do you think about having more than one group? I mean, to have few groups with different targets.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good strategy because, as you said, different audiences are interested in different things. A group that's focused on young leaders isn't going to be interested in the same things as the parents group. So if you do have, audiences that are kind of built up that way, that's definitely a strategy you can consider, is creating separate Facebook groups for them. And, posting, the relevant types of information that they would be interested on there, depending on what the group is.
Mm-hmm. That's relevant because one of the concerns in Europe, I mean, there is a tension in Europe in Jewish organizations, Jewish communities, which is there's a tendency to be close, while there are a lot of Jews surrounding, in the city. So what I learned from your presentation is that Facebook, for example, or Instagram can become a very powerful tool to reach out to people. But then you need to have this wish, will to be, to reach out and not just to, because what you are saying, bottom line is it's about building community. So how I let people to intervene and to be active and so on in the group.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, it is about community building and
Interaction.
interacting, and it's not just about pushing out information. As I mentioned, it's really about listening to and responding to questions and comments, and in general, social media is supposed to be kind of that more personalized experience with your organization. Of course, it's not the same as kind of one-on-one communication, but it's the online way of doing that. So if you're able to kind of show some humanity and some kind of personality behind some of those personal interactions, especially, in direct messages and comments and so on, I think that goes a long way.
Good. So I don't know if I'm hot, but I think we can open the micros of everyone, and maybe we can, you can raise your hand, and then we can, we have the opportunity to discuss with Lara, and if you have your concern. The only thing is, please be short, because we will also to have a conversation. So, but now the floor is open, the screen is open for questions and comments. I don't see everyone here. I don't know if there is anyone that raised the hand. Any question? Yes, Rosa. Hi.
Hello.
We ask everyone to introduce yourself and from which city you are.
Okay, I'm Rosa. I'm from Jewish community of Athens, Greece. Sorry for the very dark room, but this is the only one I have. I'm facing a huge problem when I try to build up relations through social media. Usually, I have a huge problem with Facebook. You can never upload anything that has to do for Israel, pro-Israel. Usually, they download and you have to file for a complaint. And if they allow you to check on your complaint, maybe next year or the year after or something like that. Is there something we can do about it? How to overcome this thing?
And is this a problem that you're experiencing on organic social media or on paid? If you're trying to put
the private social media, not the Jewish community social media, no.
But is it is it for paid Facebook posts that you put money behind, or just the regular types of posts?
A regular one.
Okay. So my guess is that this is a country restriction, because we don't experience that problem at all on our pages in the US. So my first recommendation would be to look into the rules for the country that you're in terms of posting. The other thing is that there are representatives at Meta who work with nonprofits and other organizations to help with these types of questions. So I don't know if you've ever, sometimes I personally receive, emails from these reps kind of advertising their trainings and so on. And it's helped me to just kind of respond there, and I kind of get a faster response from Meta because it is hard to get in touch with people there. But my recommendation would be to, if the country rules aren't very clear, to try to get in touch with someone to explain what they are, so you can kind of adjust your content accordingly. I know in the US we have a lot of restrictions. The reason I asked about if this was a paid social post is because we especially have a lot of restrictions on paid social. We cannot have any type of political, any type of political feel to even the landing page that our ads lead to. So the platforms are pretty strict about that. I'm disappointed to hear that you can't post about anything about Israel. So I can also take a look after this presentation and see if I can find anything out for you.
To help you, usually I tried to upload from Telegram, from the South First Responders, or from the release of the hostages, where the Hamas were asking them to keep waving, keep waving. It wasn't allowed in my country.
Got it.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Anna, please.
Hi, I'm Anna from Jewish Community Zagreb, Croatia. I would like to hear maybe your general comment. What's your take on Israel? Is Israel now losing social media war from the perspective of organizations like ADL and such, considering everything that we are reading now and all the comments and hate and everything? Or is in the States
Anna,
different?
Now we will give Lara the opportunity to answer, but remember we have a second session that we will devote specifically to all issues related to this. But still,
okay.
yeah. But anyway, so
Okay.
feel free to end your question and then
Yeah, that's it. From your from perspective of ADL or from
Yeah.
the States.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated, and definitely my colleague will go more into this during her session in 2 weeks. But I think it varies on platform and audience and location even. So it's hard for me to, for example, speak on what the atmosphere on social media is in Europe and European countries versus what I'm seeing in the US. In the US, we're seeing a lot of like younger audiences trending more towards the Palestinian side of things. So it's hard to kind of measure, who's winning the social media war. Our goal is just to continue educating people and bringing awareness about anti-Semitism and, what's going on in Israel, but also around the world and in Jewish communities as a result of this. So I know that doesn't quite answer your question. It really is hard to measure. And I think it kind of changes almost day by day. It's encouraging to see a lot of, celebrities and influencers and so on speaking out about this. But it is also honestly disappointing that, there's a lot more silence from, at least that what we're experiencing in the US from, some people who tend to speak out really forcefully on these types of things, but kind of are afraid to because of this particular conflict. So.
I have a question for the participants, and maybe then Lara can help us, which is, are you using social media to reach out to new people, or is just that you have your social media just to inform about the programs that you develop for just the members of your community?
Yeah, no, definitely. Our goal is definitely to keep growing and keep reaching new people. And an area of opportunity for that, for ADL in particular, is reaching more young people. If you follow our channels, we have a very established following on X and some other channels, but we are lacking some of that younger follower base. So we've been putting more and more efforts on our Instagram, and then also we recently launched a TikTok channel to try to reach more of that younger audience. But we also
you adapt the messages for young people, correct?
Yes, exactly.
The wording, the wording, the style,
really young people. It's key to kind of be more conversational, especially Gen Z. They kind of see right through a really branded post and an organization versus a real person coming and, sharing real information. And working with influencers is really a big part of like getting that authenticity as well. So we've also been trying to work with more influencers, make more of those types of connections to not only help expand to their audiences, but kind of get that third-party validation almost of, here are some more, people or, influencers who are used to listening to speaking out in support of Jewish communities.
Okay. Any other question? Any other comment? Then Mariano.
I have a question.
Sorry?
I have one question. When you said that you need to adapt the message, sometimes we don't have the time to create a specific message for each social media. So do you think it's worth using the feature that allows you to post the same exactly message in Instagram or Facebook, or is it a waste of time? If it's
I think
not
it's okay. I think it's okay to use, especially, I would do it more if you're posting on Instagram versus Facebook. And the reason is because not all Facebook posts necessarily translate to Instagram, but most Instagram posts will translate into Facebook. I would just make sure that when you're doing that, you can kind of like jump in and adjust the post a little bit. So for example, when you're posting on Instagram, you cannot post links, but that's something you can do on Facebook. So you might, post on Instagram your picture and a caption and link in bio. But then when you post to Facebook, go in and edit it and just directly add your link to that post. So it's easier for your followers.
Good. Mariano?
Okay, so media is a fascinating world, and not every Jewish community arrived on time. We're in different processes. Some organizations have a great presence, some organizations are still building it. And I think that one of the main challenges that we're going to arrive after this cycle with 2 sessions, we're going to have more sessions on the issue of like how to detect fake news, how to be more active into that. Unfortunately, we historically heard news, we read the news on the newspaper, after that by internet. Now we see everything live, and the social media presents us with different glasses. So we can see partial parts, and every part is very justified. So I think that for us it's a very, very tricky time. But I think that Lara, you gave us a lot of material for thought and to work on a good practice of this. So thanks everyone. Thanks Wanda and Masorti Europe for your partnership, and thanks everyone, and in 2 weeks we will see you again at the same time. In the meantime, happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Thank you, Lara.
Thank you so much. Happy Hanukkah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Bye.